by the end of the first summer, I was up around 90 odd regulars. So
Wow.
in a 4-week cycle. And then, this year, the sort of around October, November, I just got way too busy. And through a friend, I actually come across a fella that was working for another pool business that wasn't actually quite happy where he was. So we ended up having a conversation, and then I said, well, I think we need to catch up and actually meet in person. And from there, I offered him a job, and now we're up to about by the end of March, we hit about 170 odd regulars. So it's, the amount of work that's out here is just unbelievable if you're willing to take it all on. So
Daniel, thank you very much today for joining us on the Gyms podcast. And Brett told us to interview you because you're a Rookie of the Year in the division, and he said you're a bit of a superstar, and being down in Victoria as well. So it'd be great to just catch up with you and just hear how you're going. And maybe let's first off start with what were you doing prior to Gyms Pool Care?
Thanks for having me, Joel. So prior to Gyms Pool Care, I was actually in the police force in Victoria for about 11 and a half years. So 7 years of that was obviously working divisional van, but then the last four and a half years working in crime scenes. So going to a wide variety of critical incidents and just general houseburgs and stuff like that as well. So a little bit different to obviously Gyms Pool Care, but 11 and a half years of that. So.
I was going to say, what prompted the change for you? Was it just the job itself, or?
I think for me I wasn't enjoying it, I suppose, anymore. So I enjoyed the work, but it was probably more the internal politics and stuff that was starting to get to me towards the end. So for probably the last 12 months I was in the job, I started looking outside to see what was out there that would obviously suit my lifestyle of hopefully being outdoors and, sort of reconnecting with people a little bit better. So, going to obviously house break-ins and a lot of sort of critical incidents and stuff, you see sort of people at their worst times. So hopefully turn around and do something that was a little bit different and actually see people in a good light, and people actually want you to be there rather than you sort of having to be there, I suppose. So, I looked at gyms mowing sort of first, and then the next sort of week or so, every time I drove out the gate, I'd see multiple trailers driving around, and being in this sort of relatively small community, I thought, well, there's going to be a lot of competition there. There's probably a limited amount of work. So went back to the drawing board. We've got a pool here, went through the gyms, sort of different franchises, and realised that we didn't have anyone in the area that serviced pools or did any sort of maintenance sort of stuff on that. So at one stage, we had someone come across from Bendigo and charged us an arm and a leg just to fix a pump and check the chlorinator, and it was pretty horrendous, the bill that come through. So from there, I had a bit of a look into it, read up on the gym's website in relation to how many pools they sort of guarantee you in your area and what your guaranteed income and stuff like that is. From there, did a lot of research online before I made contact. So I started counting through Google Maps how many pools are around Maryborough. From there, counted how many around Ballarat, how many around Bendigo, and then sort of branched around the smaller communities and worked out sort of how many pools are in the area, and came up with a large number of pools, more than 1,000 easy in the area, and went, well, there's probably value here that, there's a gap in the market. You can't get anyone out here. Did a lot of research with the local businesses. So might have 10 in town here do the water testing. So went and asked some questions down there, and who do they get recommended to come across, and sort of really couldn't give me any answers. And then from there, started actually asking people I knew had pools, if I was to start something up, would they be interested in, obviously, the services? And straight away, before I think I even really reached out, I had about 30 people saying, that'd be fantastic, and we'd love to have you on board. So from there, I reached out to put the online inquiry in and spoke to, Adam Post actually rang me back. We had a bit of a general conversation. I think initially it was, I don't know if there's enough sort of in the area, but then when I explained the research that I'd done, straight away they went, oh, well, if you want to come and have a look and see how it is. So spent a day out on the road just before Christmas because I really wanted to see how it would work at the busiest time of the year, and loved it. Just, I can see myself doing this. So from there, it was probably 6 months or so in between initially looking at it and then making the jump. But actually went to the conference up on the Gold Coast and spoke to a number of people, and one of which was actually an ex-copper, and explained...
Jason?
Yeah.
Jason.
Yep. So Jason had a good yarn to me, and I was signed. I jumped straight in. So,
and what was it about the action? Because you've done a massive amount of research, which is great. We love hearing that. But what about, with the gym system itself, you would have gone through that as well, like a fine-tooth comb in terms of the system and been looking at other things. What was it about the system that you saw from your research as well? Because you obviously done extensive research, your own customer research and market research in the area, which is really, really good to hear. even went to the conference before signing, which I think is fantastic. But what was the gyms part of it that you liked or that stood out to you?
I think for me, look, reading into it, and I asked multiple different gyms, franchisees from different divisions about the fee structure and stuff as well. So to hear that obviously you pay a set fee, and the only thing really extra that you pay is and the leads that you bring in. For me, I really like that because you could earn more, but then not necessarily pay any more. So for me, that was probably a big win. I did look into sort of a few of the other different sort of outside agencies, I suppose, but they obviously had different fee structures and stuff. So for me, it was the gyms sort of setup, but then also I knew that gyms has got a really good name. So for me, it was, well, you're bringing in that name and you're basically your own boss. So yeah, that's what I liked about it. So that's why I chose gyms. So
awesome. And how was the training component itself? Did you have to go to Melbourne to do the training, or how would you able to do your training?
Yeah, so obviously 3-day training in Melbourne, and then straight away jumped in. So it was middle of winter. I had a number of weeks of annual leave at my previous job. So for a couple of days a week, went down to Melbourne, stayed with family down in Melbourne, and yeah, did a couple of days a week with Adam out on the road. And then I did a couple of days with Aaron, one of the guys on the western side of the city, just to, I wasn't travelling as far, but also seeing how one of the other franchisees does it a little bit different as well. So I found the training really good. So I think it was about 8 or 10 weeks, a couple of days a week. It was really good. So I think, I'd had a pretty good grounding by doing that, sort of spreading it out. And then, hitting the ground running. I think it was around the 1st of September 22. So
do you remember what your first week was like? You're going, I've done the training, and first lead comes in. How was that whole first week like?
Yeah, so probably about a week before I started, a friend actually sent me a message that someone on Facebook in Maryborough was asking about who does pool servicing in the area. So straight away I jumped onto that, messaged him back, said, yep, in a week I'll be able to drop around and have a look at that. So yeah, the first day I started, I had one job before it even sort of started. From there, I had no work at all. So yeah, what I did was I went back to the gym's training and started door knocking through the area, and not necessarily trying to sell anything, but it was just letting people know that there's all of a sudden a gym's pool care in the area and happy to have a look at your pool. So it all just started with, hey, I'm Dan, I'm in the area. If you need anything, give me a call. And I'd leave them with a business card, a magnet and a flyer. And that was basically the extent of the conversation. And probably 1 in every 5 or 6 would say, oh, actually, while you're here, I've got a problem with A, B and C. Do you mind having a look at it for me? So straight away, within a month, I became too busy. So,
wow.
And it picked up. I worked out there was, I think it was close to 200 door knocks in and around the area that I'd done in the first month. And out of that, even now I'm still getting people calling me going, oh, you knocked on my door 18 months ago. Yeah, do you mind coming around and having a look at my pool? So just out of that initial marketing sort of side of things, I'm still picking up work out of it. So, the amount of work that I picked up out of that, just blew up with the amount of work that I picked up in that first few months and became busy straight away. So
such a great skill to have, what you just did, because a lot of franchisees struggle with it because it can be quite intimidating going up to someone's door if you've never done it. So how did you push through it? Because was it something you obviously would have been nervous as well. So how did you because I want to encourage more franchisees to do what you've done. I think it's really, really fantastic. And we obviously have the online component of stuff, but I think what you just did is absolute magic. But it sounds simple for people, but it can be very also hard. So what would you say to them as an advice?
I think the biggest thing was, to me, I would been used to it for the last 11 years prior. So it was actually pretty easy for me. Like, it was nerve-wracking, don't get me wrong. It's something that you're outside of your comfort zone because it was something slightly different to what I had been doing. But at the same token, I was there for a different reason. So for me, I'd left a $100,000 a year job and basically had nothing coming in from that. So it was motivation to get out there and actually try and make up as much as I could without going too silly on it. But it was just being confident and just walking up. And you only had to say a few words, and some people didn't like it when close the door in your face, but it was just getting back on the horse and going, oh, well, that's their opinion. Move on to the next one and just forget about it pretty much. So, I don't know. I think it was just sort of second nature for me to a degree. So,
Oh, look, yeah, obviously, yeah, your previous background helped, but it's such a good muscle and such a good skill to have because it's that rejection and stuff. You just got to keep moving forward. People get really down with it, and they might get a quite knocked back or something like that, and then just puts them off for the rest of the week. But as you've done, you kept on going, and you can just see for the results. I'm going to clip this up to some of our franchisees and just to show them this because it's such a good muscle to have, and it's in the manual and obviously for a reason, and it does work. Even though everyone talks about online and digital and all this sort of stuff, the local area marketing stuff, which you just did then, is absolutely fantastic to hear. And you've got the results for it. Like, it's amazing how it's still getting calls from an activity from 18 months ago.
Yeah, that's right. So the other thing to that was I also had no fear in sort of approaching other bull shops as well. So just going in and just saying hello and not necessarily chasing anything, but it was more just to let them know that I was in the area. So especially sort of around Bendigo and Ballarat, where it's that 45-minute drive and they've already got enough, well, they've already got a lot of work, I should say, in their own towns. It's probably out of their way to come across to Maryborough. So I wasn't chasing work necessarily in their town, but it was more, hey, I'm in the area up here. If you need a hand with anything, yeah, don't be afraid to give me a call. And even if it's you've got something going on, you just want me to go past and check it and just give you some advice on it or whatever. To me, it also meant that you're building a relationship with other businesses, and they might be more inclined to actually help you out with work later on down the track as well. So, which also led into Shane from Poolworks in Bendigo. He reached out to me early on and actually started throwing me some work straight up.
That's so nice.
It is to start up a business. So I'm happy to give you a hand, and he helped me out right from the word go. And if I was needed some parts in a hurry or whatever, I'd just give him a call and, yep, I've got some of that in stock, swing past and pick it up. So, yeah, I've found that a lot of the guys in the pool industry are happy to help each other. So it's made it a lot easier, I should say. So
good on Poolworks for doing that. It's really great to hear that happening. That's awesome to hear, actually. So that's really good.
So, no, it's just been, and yeah, I think by the end of the first summer, I was up around 90-odd regulars. So, wow, in a 4-week cycle. And then, yeah, this year, the sort of around October, November, I just got way too busy. And through a friend, I actually come across, he put me onto a fella that was working for another pool business that wasn't actually quite happy where he was. So we ended up having a conversation, and then I said, well, I think we need to catch up and actually meet in person. So we caught up he lives sort of 45 minutes from where I am, but I said, well, I'll meet up at your local pub and let's have a meal and have a general conversation. So from there, we ended up, catching up. I think we spoke for about a couple of hours. Half of it was about pool stuff and the other half was about sport and all the rest of it. And from there, I offered him a job, and now we're up to about by the end of March, we did about 170-odd regulars in a 4-week cycle. So it's, the amount of work that's out here is just unbelievable if you're willing to take it all on. So.
It's a really great story. And with the actual technical side of the work, because you come from a completely unrelated field and you're going into things you do, pH, I'm not technical in the terms, but like I've been out with Adam and do a day on the road and stuff, and I've seen what he does, and all the different chemicals and stuff you've got in the back, and you've got to make sure the measurements are right. How did you go at that sort of side of it?
Yeah, not too bad. I think having a pool previously sort of helped me a fair bit because I'd been doing it probably 5 or 6 years prior, so I'd been asking a lot of questions and sort of that sort of stuff prior to, but then spending a bit of time with Adam out on the road in Melbourne and Aaron as well, I think I picked it up actually not too bad. And the other thing I did while we're out on the road, while we're doing servicing at pools around Melbourne, I'd take a photo of the water test results, and then I'd actually come home and just make up different sizes of pools and then work out the chemical balances. So it was a little bit of homework in the background as well, just so to make it easier. So when I started, I think the chemical balancing side of it was pretty straightforward because I'd spent a bit of time sort of learning it prior to actually starting. So I think with the sort of like pumps and filters and all that sort of things, was a little bit more to get used to. But from there, I actually reached out straight away to Fluidra and those ones just to see if I could get on the books as a warranty repair agent. So throw myself in the deep end and learn how to do bearing changes and sort of that sort of stuff, and just fixing filters and stuff on the run as well. So I think that's helped as well. So now, obviously 18 months on, a lot of it's a little bit more free-flowing because I've spent the time to be able to actually go out and learn it. So, a lot of hours just, learning as much as you can to make it easier in the long run. So
it's great to hear. And I was going to say as well, when you say regulars, what sort of what are the things people get done as a regular service now? Is it just can you do an outline as the sort of stuff? Because I know you guys sell products as well. So when you say regulars, what sort of things are you doing for customers? What do they engage you for?
Yeah, it's like for regular service, especially with the pool side of things, it's obviously cleaning the pool, so vacuuming, sweeping, brushing, walls, all that sort of stuff. Plus your chemical balancing, so adding chemicals into the pool, checking to make sure your filter, your pumps, your chlorinators, everything should be running right. So I'm actually using a program called Pool Tracker. So what that actually allows me to do is tick all the set items off the list, and then it gets sent through to the customer so they know that you've actually checked all those items off. And what we do from there is we actually, if there's anything that we can see that might not be running as smoothly as it should be, we actually put a note on the base of the job so that they know that we're looking at something that's not working right. And from there, you're sort of preparing the customer for a potential either media change or a pump changeover or chlorinator parts or something like that. So that, yeah, it's a bit of that customer relation sort of stuff that they know that you're doing everything that you should be doing, I suppose. So, which we also then send a photo with the invoice as well, so that they get how their call looked when we left. So
that's
trying to make it really customer focused as much as possible, I suppose. Just trying to stand one step ahead of a lot of it.
Sort of a bit of transparency, isn't it? Like you're paying. As you said, you would know from yourself. You get this big bill for this thing, and you're like, well, what actually went into that sort of big bill? And giving them an itemized list and making sure that they've got this, they can see the added value in it plus the photo. I think it's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, that's right. So I think that's where tried to be really good on the customer service side of things as well. And
you got a perfect rating here, star rating. So I was going to ask you about that, about your customer service. So based on your number of ratings, based on how many regulars you got, you don't take any leads anymore, do you?
No, still taking leads. So
you're still taking leads? Okay, yep.
Still taking leads. So I turned them off there back in, it would have been about October because it was just getting too much the amount of calls that were coming in. But then once offsite started, then we opened it back up again and started taking them again. So I've tried to be very customer focused on the initial sort of visit. So when we initially attend, not necessarily worried about sort of costs, I suppose. It's more about the customer service side of things. And then going forward, if you can convert them to a regular, that's where you make your profit out of it, I suppose. So you might be there for 2 hours on the first visit, but then I may only be charging for an hour for being on site. And it's getting that wow factor with the customer and winning them over that has what's helped convert customers into regular clients. So, and just having those honest conversations about, hey, your gear's getting probably a little bit out of hand here. I think we need to probably look at doing some stuff here. You don't need to necessarily do it, but this is what I recommend. And just having honest conversations. But I think the other thing is happy to have a bit of a chat to them when you first get there too, and just work out what sort of connections you have with people, and just even if you spend 15 minutes just talking about the footy or the local footy or the weather or what have you, it just builds that customer relationship straight away, and they're happy to have a chat to you. So also, yeah, if someone rings you, yeah, it's giving them a time pretty much straight away when you can get there, and try and get there within a couple of days is generally what I've tried to work on. And if you're in the area, get there that day, and straight away you won that customer over. So obviously you're going to have customers that you're not necessarily going to click with, but yeah, I've found as long as you're open and honest and friendly, there's not too many that you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Your country people are nicer than the city people, so I'm sure there's a lot more nicer people in the regional area than up here than down here in the city. So, but I was going to say as well, with you want to talk about the product side of it, because obviously you guys are mobile pool shops as well. Do you want to talk about products, how you integrate that into your business? What sort of products do customers you buy from you, recommend, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so it's pool pumps, filters, chlorinators, heat pumps, solar heating for pools. What else is there? Pool covers. So just general pool products like brushes and poles and scoops and all sorts of stuff. So generally, I'll try and carry a pump. During summer, yeah, I'll try and carry a chlorinator or something as well. But generally speaking, up here, I can order something out of Dandenong and have it within 2 days. So generally, there's not too much trouble with getting equipment in and getting it in pretty well straight away as well. But generally try and carry a little bit of stock so that if something's breaking down, you've got it on board straight away and you can get back to that customer within a day or so.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And I was going to say as well, financially, you don't have to talk about finances or anything, but like financially, you're happy with what you're doing in the business and the other, maybe what are some other benefits to the business that you thought might not have been there, but you found once you've been in the business that are there?
it's probably more the flexibility. So obviously during summer, the days are pretty big just to get through the workload. But this time of the year, you can take that bit of a spell and actually enjoy doing stuff around the house, or, going away or having a holiday and stuff. You don't necessarily have the pressures because people aren't using their pools at this time of the year. So you still try and, service it within that sort of 4 weeks, but you can sort of sometimes stretch it out a little bit just so that you get that bit of a spell. But financially, yeah, definitely it's worked out for me that I'm now making more than what I was in the police force, but I'm not on shift work anymore, and I can choose the hours that I want to work, not get dictated the hours that you're working. So going from working at one point 3 out of 4 weekends every, in that cycle, to all of a sudden, even this summer, it was only the odd Saturday where we need to catch up here a little bit. I'll do a little bit on Saturday morning, but I'm choosing not to work weekends now because I want to make up for those years that I had to work all those weekends. So lifestyle-wise, it's definitely a lot better. I'm home every night. Yeah, and get to the gym and all that sort of stuff, which it was physically impossible in my previous job. So.
What about mentally as well? Because obviously you come from a pretty tough job to being around water all day, and you're sort of you're by yourself, you don't have to worry about all the other stuff as well. So just mentally, how's it been for you?
Oh, much better. Yeah, I was probably struggling mentally by the time I left the police force, but within 6 months, it's, straight away going, I know why I left, and I probably should have done it 5 or 6 years earlier. So, yeah, you don't realise how things can affect you in different ways. But, yeah, now it's stress levels are completely...
Well, you can tell, mate, you got a good smile on your face and you seem very relaxed and you're talking very great about your business. So it's good to see.
Yeah, no, so definitely been worth the change. So I definitely wouldn't have worked in that previous job for 30 years. And that was what I was looking at. It was, I can't see myself doing this for another 5 years, let alone being a career copper for 30 years. So I think being in the early 30s, it was, I need to make a change and I want to do something for myself and actually dictate what I want to do, not be dictated to, I suppose. So, definitely a lot better.
Yeah, and what's your plan for your business? Are you wanting to do the expansion sort of model? Are you happy with where you're at? Or what do you want to do in terms of your business and your business size?
Yeah, so what I'm looking at now is to probably, because I've taken the jump and put someone on, I'm now looking at it going, I'd probably, at a minimum, like to probably put one more staff member on, especially to cover the regular servicing. That's basically how you get through the winter, is your regular customers. And to then have two staff members looking after the regulars, and then I'd be doing all the maintenance sort of things in the background, chasing the pump repairs and equipment sales and all that sort of stuff, and being more, I suppose, probably getting back onto the customer service side of things, giving a bit more of a wow factor, as if something breaks down, I can keep the staff members ticking along and move on to the next job, but then sort of float in behind and actually fix whatever the problem is and get it going a lot quicker and keep the regular servicing sort of very prompt, I suppose. So, and whether that leads to 3 or 4 staff members in time, we'll see what happens. But at this stage, I think the goal would be to probably get up an extra 40 to 50 regulars, which I'd be hoping to try and do over the next summer period, and put another full-time staff member on, and hopefully then also take a step back and focus on the admin side of things a bit better too. So that's probably been the hardest part, is you get so busy, is finding time to do the admin. So my wife's now starting to do a little bit of that for me, which is helping. So we'll, see where that leads us to, I suppose. So, yeah.
Friends, think about your change now, because obviously sometimes a lot of people, when they go, it's the friends looking at doing a franchise or Jim's franchise, it's always like, don't do it, or you've got a good job, why leave it? What does everyone sort of say now about what after you've done it?
Well, it was interesting because prior to coming across, I suppose my family were very negative against it. You've got a guaranteed income, all that sort of things, but I don't think they really realised where I was at. And it's not until, that I went, well, no, I'm going to do it. No one can really stop me, pretty much. Now they're actually seeing the difference, and I think they've actually realised how much happier and, things are a lot easier. So, they've completely changed thoughts on it now. So it was a bit nerve-wracking sort of going against what a lot of people were sort of saying to do, but I'd done my research. I'd made sure that the figures were what I thought they'd be, and I wasn't just leaving something without having a backup plan, I suppose. So,
that's good. Yeah. It's a great point. I'm glad to hear you say, because we do a lot of content for this reason, because obviously people's friends and families are a big influence in their life, and it might be you've done your research and it sounds good to you, but some people sometimes get talked out of it by you got a good job, all that sort of stuff, and so that's the reason why we do the content. Your story, for example, will help people, because I think it's just sometimes you just got to take that leap, and in a year's time, just the change that you see in people from speaking, and like yourself, for example, is just amazing. And if you listen to sometimes the key influences in your life who might be, they want your best for you, it can stop you from doing these sorts of things. So it's good to hear that.
I think the biggest thing that I found was that because I went out and I actually went and approached other businesses that weren't necessarily associated with the pool industry,
yep,
and just got guidance as to, okay, well, you've started a business. How did you find it when you started? And then from there it was, they've given me a lot of confidence in that sort of things, but to also then go and ask people with pools and have basically a plan for when I started. If I was to start this, would you use the business? And to get that guarantee, I think as well, was a big sort of plus. So yes, it was a risk. And don't get me wrong, I was nervous when I started, especially when I only had one job for the first day and that was all I had. But to see it transpire as quick as what it did, and then the equipment sales and the regular servicing that came in, all of a sudden all that went straight out the window. And I was happy straight away that I'd made the jump and took that risk. But I can see why people probably, aren't game to take that risk, but mentally I couldn't do what I was doing anymore, so I had to do something different, and I wanted to do something for me for a change, I think was where it was at. So
absolutely. And I was going to say, I should have asked you at the start, and how's the support been? Obviously, you outlined some of the support in regards to the training and people answering questions and stuff, but how's the support been overall in terms of the division and the your franchisor and other franchisees?
Yeah, well, it's been really good. So I speak to a few of the guys quite regularly. Might be travelling because some of our jobs are an hour away, so quite often I get in the car and just ring and start talking to a couple of the other franchisees, and then we got Adam Post, who's our franchisor. He rings at least a couple of times a week. So yeah, it's been really good. We've got a group messenger that we're all on. So if I've got a question and we're not 100% sure, we can put a question on the group chat. And quite often, nearly every time, someone's come across that problem before, we can get the answer that we're chasing. And it might be that, you see, they'll write a comment and you bring them up straight away and go, how to get around this? And it makes it really easy. So yeah, it's been really good.
I'm up hearing that. I was going to say, Daniel, is there anything else before today? Like, is there anything that you want to maybe leave us to, or would you say to someone maybe in your position who's hearing this and sort of can relate to your story? What would you sort of say to them?
I think it's obviously, it's been really good for me, but it's probably doing your research and having the confidence to take the challenge. You may not necessarily have any work lined up, but it's having a plan for when you start and executing that plan as best as you can. So, and having set goals, so how much work you want to do, how many hours a day you want to do, and then from there, part of it's how much you really want to make out of it at the end of the day too, and where you want to take your business. So yeah, I'm still changing my plans to suit where we're at. So yeah, it's just taking the challenge, I think.
Well done on your success, and well done on your award. And it's great to hear all the stuff that you put in the early days, and like the door knocking. Like, it sounds like it's a basic thing, but it can be very hard for a lot of people. But to hear the rewards and to hear that what you got out of that exercise is just really reinforces the point. If people just follow the gym system and do what the franchisor says to a T, they can be really successful like you have really quickly. So well done on your success, Daniel, and thank you for sharing all that information today. I'm sure this will help a lot of people who might be in your position to maybe hopefully take the jump and do something for themselves.
No worries. Thanks, Joel. Yeah,
thanks, Daniel.
Everyone that starts out. So
appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the episode of the Gyms podcast. If you want to learn more about the Gyms Group, head to gyms.net or call us on 131 546 Australia or 0800 454 654 New Zealand. And if you did like the episode as well, please make sure you leave a review or a comment or a thumbs up or a comment on the video as well. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.